Hello and welcome to Talking About Cross Stitch with the Stitching Owl. Today it is May the 5th of 2024. I am living in London, Ontario and have delightful weather this afternoon. My husband is out for a run with some fellow runners and next week he will be off to a half marathon in Cottage. I'm really happy to be able to be walking outside. I never know whether the steps that are counted on my watch are real, but I'm not sure that the treadmill is real either. At least I'm moving. I want to just take a moment before we get going to say for the last 2 or 3 videos, the 2-Bay Stitchers and I have been leading up to making an announcement this particular weekend. And I want to say thank you to everybody who has been contacted and said, oh, yes, I'm on board. We are just going to delay the announcement of the overall event for at least a couple weeks. Michelle of the 2-Bay Stitchers has had a sudden death in her family that was unexpected. And I want to send my thoughts and prayers and heart out to her. One doesn't know exactly what to do in these situations other than keep such a precious family in your thoughts and prayers. So if you are the praying sort, if you could add Michelle and her extended family to your list, I'd appreciate it. With regards to my Send a Smile program, I am working on replenishing those things that I send a smile with. But have no fear, something happened this time anyway, and it was the Send a Smile in reverse moment. Karen of KBH Stitches. How many different ways can I say your channel name wrong, Karen? Wow, KBH Stitches. I had sent her off a smile actually not that long ago. And yesterday I had FedEx dropping off a package and I was like, FedEx? Karen, you went to a great lengths. And so it is not necessary to thank me for thanking you. Having said that, it really was lovely to open this package, said Karen, so thank you. So Karen knows that I like my animals, so there's a lovely message inside and I'm not going to read it, but thank you. She has taken a picture of one of her past patterns that she was stitching and made them into beautiful floss drops and then attached one of her favorite colors that I'm thinking, wow, I can use that when I'm doing my fall stitching and squirrel stitching because I do a lot of squirrels as well. And it didn't stop there. She touched my heart. She made me my own owl and she was afraid I'd done my own this before. I had never done this particular, I believe it's a prairie schooler owl, and she's got lovely chenille trim around the side that is just absolutely perfect. I didn't think about it at the time, but it goes very well with my new shirt that my son had printed for me, and that it is, one side says love what you stitch and the other side says stitch what you love. And thank you to my kiddo and thank you to Karen. Look at how beautiful the back is, so smooth. You are very good at your finishing techniques, Karen. But then I've watched your videos, I don't think I've missed any of them, and you are somebody who embraces finishing and has fun with it, and I really like that because then I'm willing to jump in right there with you. Okay, where are we going to next? Well, if for a moment we look at my May Facebook groups, the magazine monthly, the theme is a farmer's market. And I am going to use my In Praise of Pollinators buy the blue flower because there's lots of flowers in that, and we buy flowers at the farmer's market. And then when it came to the word bicycle, I went through and used my alphabet, thank you to you-know-who, and said that each letter in the word bicycle would fit with my owl, so that I would put in at least 2,950 stitches into my owl and 500 into my pollinators. Now with Laura stitching by the shore, her I Spy challenge, I am going to mention those things as they come up when I'm showing my pieces. Some of them will be shown today, some of them I still have to figure out. I am not sure what I'm gonna do with the Star Wars movie. I might have to find something with a star in it and just go for it. Okay, so let's go with fully finished items. Last week, or last time, I was completely, actually kind of sad because I didn't have any fully finished items. So I made sure that last week during the Zoom call with Stitching with Sandi, that I finished an ornament, because it's what I like to do during her sessions. So this was an ornament that I started as part of Elizabeth Savory of Savory Sewing Spooky Spring. So I finished it. It is 2 to 3 layers of batting underneath the orange stitch piece, and I used beads all the way around the side to finish it, and then a little bit of a sunset orange on the back. So that was my first fully finished. This is a Durene Jones pattern. She has a number of different silhouette patterns, and yesterday when I checked, she had a 50% off sale on that goes until May 6th, which is tomorrow. So honestly, I would recommend having a peek to see whether there's anything there, because wow, the prices felt low. Yes, almost so low I wanted to wait till they were off sale, but that would be silly because then I wouldn't buy as many. But yes, I'm debating which ones to add to my collection. And the other thing that I finished as an ornament was actually one of my daughter's stitches. She is stitching these Siamese cats. This will be a Christmas ornament. She's thinking ahead, God bless you. And the son that helped with this t-shirt owns a Siamese with blue eyes, so she stitched that up and has discovered the joy of being able to finish something like this actually quite quickly. So she has finished more than one, but this is the only one I have to show you today. What I've done here is I've put a bit of sparkle along the edge so that when it's on a Christmas tree, it will catch the light. I don't know that the beads are actually quite clear, but that was my second fully finish of this period. And I have one more. And hi, Lisa. I went to the Stitch North retreat with Lisa, who is the Forest City Stitcher. And on the Saturday of the retreat, it was her birthday. So I started something that is by the 1897 Schoolhouse Samplers. Now this was a freebie on their blog, and I was stitching it in a variegated red and finished it and fully finished it into a drum. So I have a bit of a space here from Z to A, but to the best of my ability, I stitched it carefully and matched these up, stitching it by hand. I will be putting a couple of snapshots in. One showing me adding the bottom piece to this. What I did was I counted threads because there have been times I've seen some really beautiful work that has been a little higgledy-piggledy. And so what I did was I counted to 25 threads, and in that thread all the way around I put a basting thread of a contrasting color. I used blue. And then I counted the same amount up here and put it up here as well. So that when I was folding under this to put on my cap and my base, I folded on the next thread, and that made it so that these two things would be equal. And by going to the next thread, it was still easy for me to pull out my basting thread. So I have a couple of pictures that I'm going to insert here showing how I was doing my needlework, and I actually did add beads around the top. And this is 4 layers of batting, but I actually think next time I might go to 8 layers of batting so it molds. I think it needs to mound up a little bit more. Vonna Pfeiffer would have a beautiful mound there. But there is my drum, and started to fully finish in about 2 weeks. Actually, it was 2 weeks because I finished it yesterday. So that was to commemorate Lisa's birthday, and I have to say that was fun. I am glad that I picked something that was small enough for me to jump in and do, and then actually finish and fully finish. So that is it for my fully finishes. For my finishes, I'm going to admit that there are going to be a few of my whips that you're not going to see because I didn't really work on them much this week. When Lisa asked me how many whips I had, and then I looked at my list, I was like, I need to get a few things finished. And I understand why Samantha, the Huga stitcher, is doing a 10-10-10, so that she has 10 near the beginning, 10 near the middle, and 10 close to the end, so that in those weeks when you feel like, this is a finish it off week, you could just pick a couple from there. They're close to finish. So the first thing that I finished, so just doing time-wise, was my Modern Folk Embroidery, and I was doing the Jacob Sleeper Sal that Carmen of Cardamom Pins has started. This is the Peacock tree. Now I did it in 3 colors and then didn't have enough of what I thought left to go around the outside, so I just used a darker around the outside, and I think actually that I like it better than what I was going to do before. So I am really pleased with that. So this particular piece is, of course, by Jacob of Modern Folk Embroidery. I've been stitching on something called Light Sage, which is a 32 count linen by Roxy Flossco. And it was just a dream to stitch on this linen. The perfect weight. I didn't have a single slub through the whole thing. And it went in and out of my hoop. I do use a hoop. I just don't leave them on for anything more than a couple hours. And even in that couple hours, I tend to shift them around. So there we go. Now I did purchase another of Jacob's smaller patterns. So I might be back for a take 2 at the Jacob Sleeper Sal, maybe in the summer when I'm actually having my first summer off in years. So, but for now, the next thing to do here is to fully finish that. So there was one day that I literally put over 600 stitches just into this because it looked like, oh, there's not that much left to do. And then you start and you go, wow, I'm getting down on that color. Wow, there was 700 stitches in just the frame alone left to do, or something like that. It's amazing. But I will say that that particular frame was delightful because it was a set pattern that was very workable, and it was hard to mess up, so you knew it was going to match up in the end. So that's delightful. And then my other finish was my gnome. And again, I thought, wow, it doesn't look like there's that much. It's only a hat. Only a hat. I had one, so on Monday, I did my stitches on my owl, and then all I did was the modern folk embroidery. And then on Tuesday, I did my stitches on my owl, and then all I did was this. And even then, I still had a few stitches to finish the next day. So now this is a 20 count Aida. That is a fiber on a whim color called Cornflower. Very easy to stitch one strand of DMC on and have excellent coverage. You can't see the blue through any of that. Now I'm going to be the first to tell you that would be classified as full coverage, no background, but is very small. Not quite as small as the miniatures that Amy's been doing in her Renewing Stitches recreation of some of the masterpieces in art. I think they were even smaller. And again, full coverage. So this is a Neni design, Neni craft design on Etsy. They have a lot of different gnomes. I have a few more in the queue. I particularly want to do the Bumblebee. I have a couple of Christmas ones, but I also have some gnomes by other designers, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go next. I do know I want to finish a couple more pieces before I dive into another gnome. As I say, it was amazing how many stitches there were there. I think there were 6,000 in that little piece. Yes. Okay, so that was my fully finished and my finishes. Okay, and now that brings us to the whips. Well, one of the whips that I got back to this week was the Country Cottage samplings, Cottage Garden samplings. So this is Have Faith. It's part of the Songbird series, and I am stitching this with Amy of Renewing Stitches for the hashtag Do You Want to Stitch a Songbird. Now, I started this and then exited that first start and started it a second time and took it to the 20 count Aida. At the present time, I'm having a hard time actually seeing 40 count linen, but I love the size that it creates, so that's why I'm doing 20 count. Now, interestingly enough, I did have a change of ophthalmologist as mine retired, went in. Well, it turns out there might be a reason that I haven't been able to see quite perfectly, so I am in need of a bit of laser surgery, but I do know that it's not a big deal. It'll be in and out. But it does make sense for a couple of things. So what I discovered was I was going to do this on a small 20 count corn. This is 20 count Daybreak Aida from Roxy at Evertote, and it has been a dream to stitch on as well. And so what I have done is I've done some adjusting a la Kim the Contented needle worker style. So at the present time, you can see that I'm working on fitting this particular leaf and this leaf, and I'm not sure if I'll do one on the ground here. On this leaf, I am planning to put a little ladybug, and then I think I'm going to call it a day. I'm not going to put in yet more of the cornflowers. I really like the bird to be looking at the two without being overshadowed by some. So I've been trying to put in a couple hundred stitches on this every morning. And yes, that means that every morning I've got green to look forward to, because that's what this is. But I really like what's happening with that songbird. Did I forget to tell you anything? It's 1/1 with mostly the called for DMC. I think there was one green that I ended up substituting, just using the DMC to DMC conversion. When you put that into Google, there is a website called Bare Threads that comes up, and you can put in a number, and it gives you like 5 or 6 options that will have mostly the same effect. And so, yeah, it beats rushing out or stalling on a project when you really just, my daughter needed like 10 stitches in something. One of the things that I have been doing this year is the Bake Me a Quaker Sal that is being run by the Sunshine Stitchers. We have EJ, we have Shelia, and of course, I love it that Deb will join them once a month as well. Now, everybody's doing this, and I'm the only one that decided to take apart this particular picture and do individual Quakers instead of the big picture. So I, at this point, am this far with one of the Quakers. So what I'm doing is I am setting up with blue the basic outline of the pattern, and then I will determine how much of the inner parts patterns I'm going to stitch and what am I going to bead. So that people ask me like, how do you just see that? And I'm like, well, it comes in layers. If I start with the basic foundation and then build up from there, it usually works. Every so often I have something that I have to be honest, I don't care for much, and I usually don't even show you then, because I'm like, oh, that's a dud. And sometimes it's the colors that I've chosen for that particular linen or even weave, and other times how I envisioned the beading and how it ended up looking was really not ideal. So that is the Bake Me a Quaker Sal. I will figure this out, and then I will use this grid to make hopefully 6. What I do is I try to get a feeling for what the path is for the Quaker, because each Quaker has a path that allows you the fewest amounts of clips and one thing and another. So I figure that out, and then I can do 5 or 6 different colorings of the same one in quick order, so that when I want to send a smile, I've got something on hand to send. I will admit that I'm getting a little more creative. It isn't always an ornament now, but for right now, that's where I am with that, and I'm looking forward to having some more fun with that. A few of the Quakers are a little bit smaller than I want for my ornaments. Who'd have thought I would have said too small? Because I'm not a fan of actually stitching on like 11 count Aida in order to make the ones that they have that are petites work. So I may be reusing some of the larger ones. My next thing, well, the next thing I'm going to comment on is the secret stitch that's being sponsored by the Hathaway Stitchers, which are sisters Amity and Erin, where we take the Garden of Zig pattern that you can find on ink circles and merrily ignore absolutely everything. You don't read the instructions to find out like what size, what kind of material, everything. You're supposed to do it your own way, and you're not supposed to tell everybody. So last week when I was doing the fun Zoom with the Magazine Monthly crew, and they were asking, so what you doing? I said, well, I'm not supposed to show you. And they were like, but we're not doing it. I'm like, I know, but I'm going to play by the rules and not show anybody, but I promise I'll show you the next time. Well, it'll have to be 2 times away because we won't have shown it until the end of May. So what I can tell you is I am using some sort of floss, yarn, string on some sort of fabric, and that at the present time I have 5 flowers left to go. So I am on track to actually finish this, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say with regards to whips here is that I have been doing this tiny modernist chart. So the Peacock stitcher, Stitching with Julie, AZ Family Zoo are all taking at least one of these and doing them, and so am I. Now, I decided that I was starting with the rainbow and the clouds because that fits some of the prompts that Laura came up with last month, and of course we were in April, so we were expecting that. Now, the thing is, wow. So I am using Sulky 12-weight thread, 1 strand. I'm using 20 count even weave. Hang on, what kind of even weave is this? Is this this is mushroom even weave. And I'm just doing 1/1 so that it is a fairly small ornament size, and absolutely every color is being changed. I am not fully finished yet, but you can see that I've used a variegated blue for the clouds. I've got one more puff there to add in. And for the lacy outside, I'm going to have flowers and things around here. I'm going to finish the rainbow in a Poiji biv. It's the same idea as the colors of the rainbow order, except I'm starting with pink instead of red. And I'm sort of going, forgive the indigo. That's as close as I could get. But I'm hoping that I can have this one done by next time. Take a day to actually just sort of finish it off. It's an easy stitch. So that's the tiny modernist. And then over here, the next thing, this might be a shorter video. That would be cool. The next thing I'm going to show you is my In Praise of Pollinators by the Blue Flower. This is the pattern. I think it's gorgeous. There are 2 cells. I've got Praising Jeannine's Pollinators, and that is a stitch along where you just go at your own rate. However, slow, fast, in between, doesn't matter. And then Laura of La D Stitches. She has just started at the end of the last month, her cell where she actually divided it up to try and help people to actually achieve completion. So you have a choice, and you can join both Laura and I for this beautiful stitch. So my goal this week was to have, which way is up? The bee in the center done. And now I haven't put the long stitches in his wings. I will do that at the end when there'll be no more hooping. I finished the flower. I got the first bee in. I was a little surprised to find there was a blue bee and a red bee. So I'm not sure. Right at the moment, my bees seem to be part of a science experiment with one that has had the wings gone and the other one has the body gone. So I'll get them done. I'm actually wondering about reaching out to Jeannine and saying, are those colors of real bees? Is there a story behind this? I think this is to represent the queen bee and that these would be the workers, but I'm making suppositions. So I will reach out and ask if on the release she spoke in depth about the entire thing, and that there's a video already out there, and if not, could I have a moment of her time and figure out what everything is in here. I am enjoying this. This is 20 count parchment, Aida, and it is fiber on a whim. And I am using mostly DMC. The occasional Roxy Flossco is here because I wanted to stitch on this while I was away at Stitch North, and I left a few of the colors at home. Now, is there anything else? No, actually, I think that I remember to tell you everything about that one. So I have to say I'm super pleased when I watch things like the Sun City Stitchers and they showed their pollinators. That makes me so excited to see it being enjoyed by more people. So if you are stitching along, I would love to have you tag me in Instagram. And honestly, Instagram isn't necessarily working as perfectly as we would want. So you can send me an email. I always have my email attached in the description below. If you just thought, wow, that didn't look like Lola coming down, you are right. We have 12 paws this weekend. The composers Brahms and Robert Schumann are back for a visit while Mom and Dad take their toddler to meet somebody else in their family. I would pick him up. It's just that he's a Shih Tzu and he's bigger than Lola. I'd always thought that Lhasa Apsos would be bigger than Shih Tzu, but that's not true. If he comes over, I might pick him up to show you. He's Moody Brahms. Yes, it was the perfect name. Okay, and next we have Una Owl, and I'm going to go back to Elizabeth Savory of Savory Sewing again. I started this on her birthday, March 7th, I believe, and I have had this kitted up. This was part of what I asked my husband for Christmas, and he got the entire thing. Well, I got the entire thing from Evertote and handed him the little bag. Said, this is what I want. And I got exactly what I want. So I am using the Roxy Floss Co. conversion, and I am working off of paper. I realized that I can order the PDF online, and I think going forward, probably for the Artsy Housewife, I will, so that I can put it onto my tablet. It is actually a clear pattern. I'm just old, and being able to just make it a little bigger helps. So my Una did not get the eye completed that I was hoping for this week, but there was progress made. So you didn't realize that before, the area around this eye had not been filled in. So I filled that in and it's completely, and then this half of the feathers on his tummy are filled in as well. It's just hard to actually see that there's multiple colors there, and that over here I still have stitching to do. You can see where this eye is going to be. I got his beak in and his nose structure. So this one will be one that will be more of a at least 2 strands a day now until it's done. He's not big, but again, the owl itself is full coverage. And this is Mint. You're gonna think I only do Aida. I don't only do Aida, but this is 20 count Aida from Fiber on a Whim because I do like the feel. It's soft, but it's got body. And as I said, this is Roxy Floss Co. I'm not finished with my whips yet. After this, I will go through and I will actually count things off to answer Lisa's question of, so how many whips do you have? Because I actually needed to know myself. So my next whip is Dragon Keeping Time, and this is for the Year of the Dragon Sal that is being run by the Huga Stitcher and Fibers and Floss Canada, so that's Samantha and Erika. Now, my Dragon Keeping Time is by Maria Bravko, who is Cute Patterns by Maria on Etsy. And look where I am now. I actually have a full tail. Let's see what I've got here. So I've got 16,147 stitches for 77% now. So I have all the way to here done. I've got a couple more spikes here, and then it's the wings up here in this cloud burst right there. So when we look up close, we see up here, there is a bit of a village hidden in his wings. And then we see another village here underneath the hourglass. And that this tail of his makes a rainbow around that village. Like, this is an amazing story could be created out of this. And isn't that really what our stitches are about? Can you make a story out of it? That's what I ask my students to do with regards to their music. Like, music is an international language that does not have words. It is the best way to communicate. But if you're not thinking about what you want to communicate, then nothing gets communicated. So my dragon is on 32 count even weave. That is a Pell Stitches specialty dye with the color Rumbling Thunder that I think is really awesome, and it is an absolutely exquisite even weave to work on. Very easy to see even when my eyes are so out of whack. I am really pleased that I only needed half the fat quarter for that dragon. I've still got a chunk, so that's cool. Okay, now what's next with my whips? We are going to the big board and my Quaker flag. This is going to, of course, be Canada because I am Canadian. So last time I didn't quite get this done. I was at the halfway point. So I finished this one. I did this one in its entirety. And you can see that this week's is almost finished. My goal is one of these tiles per week. And I will say mostly I have stayed on. I did not take this project to Stitch North, and so I got behind there. But what I find amazing is when I get to this point here, so it'll be about there, then we're into the white part where our big red maple leaf is going to be. So I'm actually making good progress with just getting that first red stripe done. And I think I will soon be able to do the, okay, how big do I expect this to be, and can I cut this material without screwing anything up? I'm very much like everybody else that I'm afraid of cutting the material wrong and would rather wait it out for a little while. But this is a white opalescent linen that's, they've got it listed as a 35 count. I think it's 37. It's going to get dirty if I keep handling it. So I think I'm going to be trimming that off and dealing with the edges. I zigzag on my Bernina. Works just as well as serging does. But I think this is absolutely gorgeous. That is almost 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yes, it's almost 12 done. 11.75 Quakers completed. And then the one, yes, my special one. So this is my stained glass owl. And it's by Sheryl Creations on Etsy. I've mentioned in past videos that it's very possible to do this in 4 different sizes and that they are all included in the single PDF. And that PDF is not very pricey at all. Considering what we are getting, being charged $14 for this is an amazing price. I don't know that I will actually ever do it a second time, but hopefully the crew doesn't become loud and barky. Okay, so my goal was to get to 90,000 stitches before we met today. On early Wednesday morning, I got to 90,000 stitches and I was so pleased, but then I didn't want to put it down and hold it there to show you. I continued stitching, and as of this morning, I'm at 92,000 stitches. I wanted to get his talons in. Look at them and how they catch the light. I got this swoop of the body so that I'm working my way up. And you can see that last night I started putting in the needed outlines for the eye to match up the counting. It's so much easier if I started doing this just going row by row across, but if I put in what would be the leading on the stained glass window, that can actually guide my counting and make it easier. So that's what I was doing, and there is 92,000, which is, hang on, let's see, 57.52%. So I'm really pleased. These talons, oh my word. I understand why people call it ninja stitching and confetti stitching. I was hopping all over the place. 1 stitch here, 2 stitches there. There is a lot of browns and golds in those talons. Now I really like the effect, but wow, there's a lot of color changes in there. A lot of them. Okay, so I use this particular planner. It's by Lori Sykes of My Crazy Life. Delightfully, she put this, and I can't think of the name, spiral bound. She spiral bound the edging so it actually lies open, because I often do that even to my music. There's nothing like being in the middle of something when you're playing, whether it's a service or whatnot, and then having the music wanting to slowly close. So one of the things that happens here is, if I show you June, you can see that she starts with this open area here, and that's where I put my list of projects that I've carried forward, so I know what it is that I'm working on and how many things I've got. So when Lisa said, how many do you have? And I thought, well, I think I've got 12. I was close, not right, but I was close. So here we go. Oh, I've got dogs. This could get interesting. So I've got my list here, and what we'll see is that there are 15 things on my list. Stained glass owl, you just saw. Dragon keeping time, you just saw. Quaker flag, 1 dozen Quakers. Under the stars, I didn't bring out today. It had some progress but nothing that would make you go, oh, that looks different than last time. The birdhouse, again, I made some stitches, but not enough. Faith Songbird you saw, Una Owl, Black Dragon, I tabled him after starting him, and we'll dive in to having progress there at some point. I'm just not sure when. Anytown, Tiny Town, I have started back at that one, so I expect to be able to show you some progress there next week. Day Signs you saw. Garden of Zig, we aren't allowed to share. In Praise of Pollinators you've seen. Herschel and Lucy is a stitch along that I'm doing with Carol and Zook of C Zook Stitches, where we're celebrating the patterns of the Stitching Mommy. She has an Etsy shop that most people go to for temperature charts, but she has some other options open, and the bird with the ladybug is ever so cute. That I will be getting more seriously into over the next time. And then the sampler alphabet, which I finished. So at the present time, I have 14 whips, and I am trying to do 12,000 stitches a month for my owl, because if I do that, I think I can finish it in October. My dragon keeping time, I would like to finish it in the next 4 weeks, and I think I can do that. The Quaker flag is going to take at least a year. I figure at one a week. And those are my big 4 projects, and everything else I just working around my 4 big projects. So one of the crazy things that I've had is the material that I have for my Under the Stars. I love the look of it, but for some reason I can't see very well, and I was frustrated. I'm hoping that they are right, that the laser surgery will make that a little bit better, because I love the effect I've got, and it's not dark blue. Yeah, it's confusing. Okay, so now I am going to do my section where I say it's new to me, Flosstubers that I think are something that you should check out. Even if you grab 1 or 2, these will all be listed below with direct links, just to see if some of the new presenters can get a little subscribe and things like that. There's all, every week there are more people presenting on Flosstube, and sometimes they discover that it is so much fun, and other times they discover that there's also work that goes in with this. But I can honestly say I think that I wrote down somewhere around 20 new to me. I'm not going to do 20 today. These are in no particular order. With regard, certainly I couldn't figure out the alphabet with this, more that just the order that they found me and were dropped into my feed on YouTube. So the Cher Bear Stitcher, she's got 3 videos. She's got some gorgeous framed pictures, loves to change up the colors, and it's interesting because she in her second video was talking about how when she was stitching models earlier in her life, she accepted payment in embroidery goods. So she amassed this collection. And I'm going to invite you to actually go see how that story ended, because it will have a few of you gasping at what she did with her collection of cross-stitch stuff from the, I believe, 1990s, early 2000s. Tamra Gray, spelled Grey, has 13 videos. She's got a fabulous flow with a wide variety of styles, occasional specialty stitches, but not so much that you think that what she's doing is above what you're capable of. I found her quite charming. The Pokey Needle has 4 videos. Might be another one. A very sweet presenter. Oh, I know what it is. She loves modern folk embroidery, but does other stitches also. I think the reason why I'm thinking she's got more videos is I think that the Pokey Needle is doing Mania and maybe posting a shorty every day. Hi, Brahms. What's up? The Soul Stitchers, S-O-U-L. Now, these videos are recorded in France by 2 young ladies who know how to speak English. Every so often they help each other with a word, but they're having an adventure together. They'll be doing once a month because they don't live super close to each other, but they love just getting together to talk about the stitching and laugh about the stitching. Really very, very fun time, and they show outtakes. The very video number 1 of theirs, initially you think, what are they doing? Because they show you a few of the outtakes before you get into the real video. Stitching with Melva, M-E-L-V-A, has 2 videos out now. She's a Canadian presenter, and she actually hit the ground running. She seems like she has a really good flow from the very first word. So I'm going to enjoy watching her and her projects. She lives in Edmonton, which has a lot of appreciation for arts and stitching. And then the last one that I'm going to recommend for you today is the Mud Puppy Stitcher. Now, Kenzie does have 17 videos, which means somehow it didn't get dropped into my feed very well. She had never been there until last night. She's an articulate young lady. She's got a degree in, I believe, some sort of biology. And she loves animals. Right now she's working using the science side of things, but not working with animals. And so she's missing it. So she is doing, as part of her presentation, how did she call it? A wildlife moment, where she might be talking about, I think this last one was about raptors. It's not long, but it is informative, and I found it very enjoyable. So I hope you'll give her a try and find out what a mud puppy is. Because to be honest, no, I did not know. Okay, this week, I think the video is short enough that I'll be able to add in the music and still get everything up. Today, the moment for music is actually using a piece by a Norwegian composer. I'm going to say his name is Torgerson, but I do not know whether the J is truly said like a J. The composer's from Norway. When you listen to this piece, what I'd like you to do is to go with me on a story. You're in the fjords of Norway, and it is late fall. The days are getting shorter. The day opens with the barest of light from whatever man can create. As the day progresses, a glimmer of light comes, and in the center section, light breaks through, and you can hear the chapel bells ringing that the light is here. And then, oh, too quickly, the sun goes away. Because in Norway, there is a time of the year, especially when you're up north, where it's essentially darkness 24 hours a day. This particular piece is called To the Rising Sun, and it helps you to appreciate what it must feel like to only have the sun for an hour or two in the middle of the day. It would indeed be glorious. And thank you so much for coming to see me today. I have been looking forward to seeing you all week. I know that the sign-ups for Stitch North are this week for next spring, and that the dates have been changed so they don't fall on Easter itself. I am hoping to go down with Lisa again. I did notice that Lindy Stitches released a short video that gives us a little peek at all of the designers she's inviting to be part of the Jingle Ball in early December. It looked like a fabulous lineup of people, and I just encourage you to go have a peek at her latest video. And indeed, if you get on her email list, this particular month she sent out a cute free pattern to us. So it'll be one I'll do because, yes, you guessed it, it was a bird. There are a lot of announcements going on right now, and I know that we can't take part in absolutely everything. I really do appreciate those of you who have had a chance to actually meet on Zoom. It was lovely to meet some of you totally in person. I mean, meeting Marie of Stitches and Diamonds, I didn't think that would ever happen. She's from Europe. There she was. And if you are looking for a stunning dragon finish, I'm going to encourage you to look up the Violet Stitcher. She's got a floss tube she flew into week 1 of Stitch North as well, and she finished ahead. I think she's worth a watch. She was a delight to chat with the couple of times that we were able to end up in a lineup together. I am finding that there was many, many more people I would have loved to have met at that event that I just didn't have time to. And so it is, though, that we come to a close. I hope you enjoyed my presentation of To the Rising Sun, and that even though it probably was a composer you've never heard of, that you might be curious and see if there's more of his music out there. Thank you for allowing me to keep classical music alive and present it to you. Your encouragement of using my skill has really touched me. I truly feel appreciated for who I am as a totality. Yes, as a stitcher, but also just as the musician and independent person that I've always been. And I thank you for that. I consider myself very lucky. And you know what? I am so lucky that I have reached 750 subscribers. I said in my last video that at either video number 25 or 750 subscribers, I would do another giveaway. So here it is, just before I say goodbye. There is a new giveaway, and you have 2 weeks to respond on this video. I'm going to repeat what I did the last time and offer a $50, so this is an American $50 gift certificate to purchasing what you would like to purchase on the Evertote website. The next time around, I'm going to use a different company, but I think this time I really would like to use Evertote again. So in order to be entered for this, you of course are not allowed to say contest, prize, winners, any of those little words, and you need to be able to be comfortable giving me your e-address so that I can convey it to Caroline. I don't need to know your full address in order to give you a gift certificate. Anybody anywhere in the world is open to answering the question, when you find an oops, is your first thought, I need to fix it? Or is your first thought, I need to fudge it? So I'm going to actually count it up and see if we have more fixers or fudgers. And go with what your first thought is, because sometimes when we really look at something, we go, oh, it's okay, I don't have to fix it. But if your first instinct truly is to fix it, and it's only after you assess everything for 20 minutes that you would go to the fudging it, stick with the fixing it. Do your first thought. All right, so there we are. Thank you for coming to see me today. I really appreciate it. I wish that I had the chance to reach through the camera and shake everybody's hand and say, hi, you mean everything to me. Because you do. I hope that you have had needle, thread, and fabric in hand, and that as you listen to the video, you were making something pretty, and that you also made yourself happy. May the next 2 weeks be wonderful weeks until we meet each other again. Bye-bye for now, and happy Mother's Day to all.